Greetings, comrades. Back with some more Michael Parenti, Inventing Reality. Today we are tackling Chapter 7, titled Liberal Media Conservative Bias. And he starts off with talking about this idea of public opinion, right? Public opinion can be one thing. The people, the masses might feel strongly one way or another about a certain policy or thing that's happening, but the media's opinion about the public opinion is what you're going to hear from the media. And then we have our sub-chapters here, starting with sub-chapter 1, creating a conservative mood. And so post-Vietnam, this idea that the media was pushing was that, well, now the country is in a conservative mood. We're done with all that radical anti-war stuff. We elected Reagan, and we're ready to swing to the right. And so all these articles came out about how the country is moving to the right. And at the same time, really ignoring progressive or even liberal opinion on certain issues. I wanted to read an excerpt from page 113. By giving uncritical credence to the myth of a conservative mood, the press not only happened to misreport public opinion, but helped frame issues in a way favorable to conservatives. By crediting conservative policies with a popular support they usually did not have, the press did its part in shifting the political agenda in a rightward direction. Public opinion is not just an expression of sentiment, it is a democratic power resource that sometimes constrains and directs policymakers who otherwise spend their time responding to the demands and enticements of moneyed interests. So the way that we frame things, the way that the media frames things, makes people think that some ideas are more popular than others, even when they're not. And let's see, talking about bringing back these Red Scare tactics, the same stuff that's been done over and over and over, getting these far-right publications, their zines, their nowadays websites, podcasts, the way these things are moved more and more into the mainstream. Was happening then, is still happening now. And I just thought it was interesting. He mentioned this guy, M. Stanton Evans, who was a right-winger that liked to go around debating kids on college campuses in 1980. Some things never change, right? Section 2, populist electorate, conservative outcome. And here he's talking about the 1988 election when the country was ready to move on from Reaganism, but Dukakis was a terrible candidate. He ran to the right. He dropped any sort of liberal or progressive issues. And then, of course, Bush played really, really dirty politics with the Willie Horton ad. Google that if you don't know what it is. And so Bush won, even though the country was really ready for at least a little step to the left. Section 3, pundits to the right, talking about how this right-wing perspective dominates all of the political talk shows. And again, still true today. Basically, you just have the far right and then like moderate centrist opinions represented in these shows, right? There's never anybody, a union leader, an actual socialist, nothing like that is ever given any sort of airtime on any of these big Meet the Press, any of those big like political shows. You have debates that are just like right-wing versus right-wing. And then here's the rise of our old enemy, Rush Limbaugh. At the time he had 1.3 million listeners. And again, we can compare that to these right-wing podcasts today. If you look at the top 10 podcasts in the country, they are all right-wing. It's actually kind of terrifying. And he, of course, coined the phrase feminazis and commie libs and did more of that Red Scare stuff to make people think that the Democrats were the big scary communists. And then the last section, 4, how to discredit protesters. And he has 4 different ways that they do this. The first one is ignoring and undercounting. So they either just don't report on your protests at all, or, say you had 150,000 people in the streets showing up, marching, whether it's against a war, whether it's to free Palestine, for healthcare, for abortion rights, whatever it is, the media will report, oh, it was only 25,000. Like, not that many people came, just to make it seem like this issue isn't as popular as it is. Section 2, or Step 2, favoritism for rightist demonstrations. So anti-communist demonstrations will get a huge huge news story, right? Especially at this time when the Soviet Union was collapsing, the U.S. media loved to show these anti-communist protests in the Eastern Bloc, to prove that capitalism was going to win. And then the left wing turnout, again, always minimized as disappointing. Idea number 3, scanning of content. So really, they're just ignoring the real reasons that people are out there. Or when you have a big group of left-wing people that are maybe talking about, let's say it's the Free Palestine issue, and they get up there and they start connecting all these other ideas, the U.S. surveillance state, the border patrol, our lack of healthcare and resources that we are given through our tax dollars because we're so focused on sending our resources to Israel. When they report on it, they'll be like, their message was all over the place. Even though the speaker may have done a really good job of explaining why these things are connected, the news will be like, they just rambled on about all kinds of stuff that doesn't even make sense. So just diluting the message like that. And then step 4, trivialization and marginalization. Purely just ignoring the substance altogether and focusing on aesthetics, right? Oh, it was all these young blue-haired kids. Like, they don't even look like they know what they're talking about. They look too young to care. Oh, they're punks. They have tattoos and piercings, to just discredit these people for being young or for looking a certain way. And they'll report on quote-unquote violence, which might be like, I don't know, torching a cop car. And property destruction is not violence. Those are two different things. But they'll focus on that instead of the people that are actually protesting violence and genocide, or whatever it is that might be angering the people. Maybe it's a police murder. And rather than focusing on the fact that the cops kill people here every day, that, oh no, they set a cop car on fire, that's violent. So again, same as it ever was, right? We see this happening the way our media works today, and it's because that's how it was set up to work. It works for the ruling class of, by, and for the rich, and it's not for us. So only one way to fix that. Cheers.